All right, shalom, shalom. It's your brother Rum. You're back with another lesson, Lord willing, to be edifying. I want to start by giving all praises and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Waha, Rakak Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shah. Double honors to the apostles, the elders, bishops of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 men of the Lord. You see on the highways and byways prophesying in the name and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. Also in the name, in the correct doctrine, as well as the name. I want to send a shalom to the 1/3 million women and children that will escape the judgment of Yahweh Shem Yahushua by their faith. As you see, Turkey. Ezekiel 38 is coming to pass, man. He says Turkey may potentially launch its first retaliatory strikes on Israeli assets in Syria, Iraq, and Lebanon in exchange of IDF bombing a Turkish asset in Syria. And this just happened yesterday. And I caught it on X. It says Ankara says Israel struck at a NATO-based Turkish asset in Syria, and Turkey is in NATO, man. And that being struck by another nation that's not in NATO, it invokes Article 5, where all the nations that's in NATO have to come to the defense of the nation that was struck. Now, it says right here, just in, Israeli Defense Minister Katz to President Erdogan, you are dragging Turkey into dangerous adventures in Syria. Israel will not allow any actor to threaten its security. So you're seeing that the least of the flock is going to draw all the nations out, man. Because they're not holding back. They're going against everyone, man. They don't matter if they're in NATO. They don't matter if they're in any other nation. And this was going to cause Babylon the Great to be destroyed, man, because they're going to have to come to their defense. And they are already stretched too thin now, man. It says Erdogan would be better off continuing its detached, fantasy-driving rhetoric against Israel in the Turkish parliament. So he said you need to keep that in the parliament. You don't need to say it out loud, man. You need to keep all that intact, man. So they bucking up against every nation, man. It says than testing Israel's resolve to defend itself. So they're not backing down, man. They're bucking up against one of the biggest armies in in Asia Minor, man. This is breaking. Israel is preparing for a full-scale war with Egypt, Turkey, and Syria. And this is a small nation, man. So what you think that's going to cause all other nations to fight, man? Because that is prophecy for our land to be utterly wasted, man. Breaking. Israel attacks Turkish assets in Syria. They struck Turkish military equipment at an airfield in Idlib. U.S. Special Envoy for Syria, Tom Barak, calls it an unnecessary escalation by UC. So even the commanders in Babylon's army saying that was unnecessary, man. So it doesn't matter to them, man. Now check this out. It gives you a small glimpse into what's going to happen.
What was feared has happened. Israel has made an indirect move against Turkey. In other words, it has issued a warning that a war between Israel and Turkey could break out at any moment. What happened is that yesterday Israel bombed the Abu al-Duhur airbase located in Syria. This airbase is just 45 miles from Turkey. Israel dropped around 8 bombs on the runways and hangars of this very airbase. According to Axios, Israel gave the US an explanation that the main reason for bombing this airbase was Turkey, and that this attack was carried out specifically to prevent a Turkish military buildup inside Syria. Syria's foreign minister Assad al-Shaibani told Axios that he had clearly told Israel there was no intention of establishing any permanent Turkish military presence, but Israel bombed anyway. Turkey has also rejected Israel's claim, saying there was no Turkish presence at that airbase at all. It seems Israel has now started considering Turkey as its biggest enemy these days. Many Israeli ministers have even declared Turkey a bigger threat than Iran. Meanwhile, the US considers both Turkey and Syria to be close allies, but Israel will always remain its first priority. And as Israel and Turkey keep threatening each other, it looks like a new front is about to open up in the Middle East.
See, and it's the new front, man. But they said it clearly tells you that they don't care. And like I said, this is just a small glimpse of what's unfolding, man. A lot of people call it the Um, they call it the Gog and Magog war. But I want to hit this scripture because this is biblical prophecy you're seeing right before your eyes, man. And you know, when you in the truth, you're in the faith of the Lord, man. Believe it and have a faith in Yahweh Shem Yahushua. It's starting to be surreal, man. Like this is really what we've been prophesying. It's actually happening. It's like it's surreal, man. Like you would think, like, man, is the Lord really going to bring this World War III, the Battle of Armageddon? Is He really going to destroy Babylon the Great? Is He really going to destroy our land? This goes to show you, man. This is undoubtedly the truth, man. And the Lord bless us to have this understanding at the end of the world, man. I want to hit these scriptures, but I want to start with verse 8. And I'm going to drop down to 49. This is Jeremiah 50 and verse 8. It says, remove out of the midst of Babylon and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans and be as the goats before the flocks. It says, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon assembly of great nations from the north country. And that's speaking about the nations that's going to be with Russia, man, out of the north countries. It says, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. See, this place is going to be taken, man. The arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. See, when they shoot their missiles on Babylon the Great, they're not going to return, man. They're not going to stop it or pause the weapons from the missiles from shooting off or missing their targets, man. It says, and the Chaldees shall be a spoil. All that spoil her shall be satisfied. So all those nations, and this says the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And this is plain, man. You can't get around it. All those nations that they've been, been the walking mat for Babylon the Great for so many years, they're gonna take satisfaction in destroying Babylon the Great, man. They're gonna take satisfaction in it. Dropping down to verse 45, it says, therefore hear ye the counsel of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, that he have taken against Babylon. And this is what we're speaking through the Spirit of the Lord, man. This is what the Lord is going to do to Babylon. It says, and his purpose that he hath purpose against the land of the Chaldeans, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. At the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved. And what's going to make the earth move, man? That's those thermonuclear missiles, man. And the Lord is preparing Babylon to be destroyed, man. That's why he's causing the small caps to come against these nations, man. Because ultimately the Lord's determination is to destroy Babylon the Great, man. At the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved, and the cry is heard among the nations. So this goes into Revelation 18. There's a hissing. So this is going to be heard everywhere, man, that the Lord destroyed Babylon the Great, man. This is how you're going to give him a new name. Not a new name, but his name is going to be put forth through all the land, man. Everyone is going to call on the name of Yahweh being the Father and Yahweh Shah being the Son. Let's get back to the videos, man, because this is happening in real time, man. This is not a far off some day that's going to happen 20, 30 years from now. This is right now. He says right here, Turkey moves heavy weapons into Syria mid-direct overtime shipments. And it's not really saying anything, but you're just seeing the equipment being moved after they were struck. And they didn't hit them directly. They struck before them where they was going to basically set up their base. And this is supposed to be a NATO base, man. And this goes to show you that the least of the flock is drawing all the nations out for war. This is World War III has been prepared to fight, to be fought in this day and time, man. This is not far off, man. Any escalation, it caused World War III to get hot, man. But we know there's a couple other prophecies that got to be brought forth, and the main one is the MOTB, man, the Mark of the Beast. Once that's implemented, World War III will go hot. It won't be held off any longer, man. The scripture tell you about the Lord having angels holding back the four winds. Let me get that. I'm going to play this video. I'm going to get that.
Guys, you don't know how bad it's going to get. So Trump is on the thinnest of ice right here. I got to point this out. This is one of the most dangerous things in this conflict. Releasing oil from the SPR stabilizes prices in the United States. Now, it's true that the U.S. is pumping out oil like nobody's business, but we are not going to maintain a prolonged conflict if we are burning this much energy this quickly. Now you've got to add into the fact that Israel and Turkey are bickering, and if Israel launches strikes that Turkey considers to be an attack on it, they could trigger Article 5. The weird thing about what's going on with this, Israel didn't strike Turkey. They struck in front of Turkey, where they knew Turkey wanted to go. Here's a story from Reuters. Turkey slams Israel's untenable claims after strikes on Syrian base. Turkey firmly rejected on Wednesday what it called untenable allegations by Israel regarding its military position in Syria after Israel bombed a Syrian airbase near the Turkish border and said Syria was on the verge of permitting Turkish troops to deploy there.
So you see that they are stirring up the nations, man. Every nation is preparing for war. It's not a nation on the planet that's not preparing for war, man. Now, them striking before in Turkey, it shows you that they're reckless. They're ready to go against any nation. They don't care who it is because they feel like they are, they really think they're attached to the Lord, man. They think if they can bring all the nations against them, the Lord is going to come back and intervene for them just because they're in that land. And that's not biblical prophecy. And that's why the Lord has them in a trick bag. It has them in a trap. Because the true Israelites are not in that land. And they won't be brought back to that land until the Lord returns. This is Revelation 7 and verse 1. It says, "And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living power, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, nor the sea, nor the trees, until we have sealed the service of our power in their foreheads." And see, when the elect is sealed, and we're very close to that, if not already the elect is sealed, the Lord is going to bring judgment, man. While the men of the Lord on the highways and byways are making lessons, the Lord is showing you that you still have time to repent to the Lord, man. But the time is running out, man, because the Lord is holding back the destruction. He's holding back the destruction to the elect is sealed. And like I said, we're very, very close, if not there. And we're seeing that America's dollar is pretty much finished. And once that dollar's crashed, man, they got to bring in a new system. And this is what's going to happen, man. Now, I got this video to play, and this right here kind of ties into NATO and Turkey. Because, like I said, NATO is a part of Turkey. I mean, Turkey is a part of NATO, as well as Babylon the Great is a part of NATO. Now, I'm going to play this video, and you're going to see that it's a reason why they want to get out of NATO now. Because they're going to have to bag the small caps, man. As you see, it says, breaking, Trump announced that the U.S. is leaving NATO because European nations refuse to join his war against Iran. And you can't tell me the Lord ain't set this thing up perfect. It says the U.S. empire is withdrawing and becoming isolated on the world stage. Now, all the nations are starting to come against Babylon the Great because they know that they're pretty much a war engine, man. They have, since there's the establishment of America in 1776, just 250 years, this place has been established, and only 16 years out of 250 that it has not been at war. Now, all the nations can see this, man. This is not hidden history. It's a Google search. That America's only been established since 1776, 250 years, and only been at peace only 16 years. Now, America also has two flags. You have a war flag and he has a peace flag. The war flag is all we've ever known, man. The red, white, and blue. But it was a red and white flag that I'm gonna put it up a couple times. That was the peace flag. And since I grew up, I've never seen that flag until I've got grown. Now, let me let this video play.
Not sticking together. I think that NATO made a terrible mistake when they wouldn't send a small amount of military armament, when they wouldn't send just even acknowledge what we were doing for the world and taking on Iran. I never considered it very risky, but war is always risk. You know, a lot of strange things happen in war that are very bad, but I didn't consider it. I know how great I'm. We're the greatest military by far. Anywhere there was nobody close. I didn't think there was a big risk, but there's always surprises with war. They can be very bad surprises. I mean, wars are lost. It should be won. Many wars are lost. You think a country's going to wipe somebody out, and they end up getting wiped out themselves. So it's always risky. But I think a tremendous mistake was when NATO just wasn't there. They just weren't there. It's going to make a lot of money for the United States because we spend hundreds of billions of dollars a year on NATO, hundreds of protecting them. And we would have always been there for them, but now based on their actions, I guess we don't have to be, do we?
Mr. President,
That sounds like a breaking story, yes, sir. Is that breaking news?
So you see that he's ready to leave NATO, and he's going to be isolated. And as you've seen, I just read in with Jeremiah 50, that those nations are going to come against him. Those nations, the European nations, man. And see, DJT, he runs America like a business because it's all he thinks about is money. He's not thinking about the consequences of what he says. And these nations do not have the same Western culture as he has. Because what you say means a lot. You just can't just, speak recklessly and think people are not going to regard what you say. Because these nations have the same missiles that he has. And they're not the greatest power on the earth as he thinks. The Persians prove that they are not as powerful as he says they are. Now, I'm gonna play that video, and it's an announcement that he has tonight. He has an announcement tonight at 9 o'clock today. But the point is, I want to make also. Let me pull this video here, and I hit a couple of scriptures. But is that all these weapons and all these things that he says he has, he doesn't have, man. Someone is briefing him and telling him that he has so much power, he's the greatest, pretty much puffing his head up, man, or blowing his head up, man. This is not football or business or basketball. Somebody can speak highly of you and it be true. You have to back up what you say. And now check this out. It says, the Army spent 533 million. It got zero. Now, you just seen, I don't know, I've been watching this this video here. I'm going to show you this real quick. Where they've been speaking about the stock falls as bonds yield oil climbs. So the financial system is on the brink of collapsing. Now let me play this real quick. Let me see. Nah, I don't want to play. Oh, let me bring it back. I'll just play it from here.
The Army spent $533 million on a new artillery shell production facility in Texas that was supposed to help rebuild the supply of 155s. The goal was eventually 30,000 new projectiles every single month. Guess what? Absolutely zero projectiles have been made. This wasn't just a little bit of a factory running behind. Former workers told ProPublica that robot arms were catching fire. There was stuff smashing into equipment. Drops and hunks of raw steel were being thrown around. There was this one machine that kept cracking artillery bodies. In short, it is absolute chaos. The factory opened in 2024 and was promoted as a highly automated advanced manufacturing operation. The Pentagon IG Inspector General found that by March of this year, they still had not produced a single usable artillery round. Here's where it gets frustrating. $26.3 million in progress payments has been made. $2.5 billion to General Dynamics has been received in other contracts since this nonsense was shut down. Now, General Dynamics says they actually are saying that they've met the requirements. This is crazy. Now, the Army is trying to get that money back. The Army needs artillery shells badly. We've used a lot. But this kind of desperation is just insane. To me, as a taxpayer and a military retiree, this is criminal. And I believe that people should be arrested. What do you think?
So he's ready to leave NATO, which NATO is it backed them, you know what I'm saying, to the point where they can go to them and use their land. But now he's turning his back on NATO. Now you just seen that video where over $533 million was spent and not one missile was produced. Now, if you just that's common sense, man. That's like you going to work and you doing all this work and never getting paid, man. You don't see no benefit in going. You don't see no benefit in basically. I make the point I want to make is no benefit of him leaving NATO because he's going to be stretched thin. They're already running out of intercepting missiles in Ukraine and over in the Middle East. Now this shows you that the Lord is controlling the minds of men. Let me hit that real quick, and I'll hit that video, and then we'll hit the rest of these scriptures I got wrote down. I want to put that out there. Let me see this real quick. This is Proverbs. It's Proverbs 21. This is Proverbs 21 in verse 1. It says, the king's heart, meaning the mind, the king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So this is the Lord doing this, man. DJT is just a character or a pawn in the Lord's hand, man. Because anyone in their right mind, they will make better decisions than what you're seeing being made by Babylon the Great.
Today, that blockade is going to be back in place tomorrow. We also can tell you that President Trump has just announced that he will address the nation on Thursday night at 9 o'clock. Nobody knows what that is about.
So 9 o'clock tonight, he's supposed to have a speech, and there's so much stuff going on, man. So we got to see what he's talking about because the economy just hit $40 trillion in debt. And then all that, you've seen the NATO, more likely is going to be, he's going to probably let people know that, let the countries, nations know that he's leaving NATO. And now you're seeing the small caps going against Turkey. Man, this thing is about to pop, man. Like I said, this got to be something major finna come, man. Like I said, I just want to hit a couple of scriptures, man, just to land back off those videos. This is Ezekiel 38. In verse 1, it says, the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. So he's speaking about Russia, man, Gog and Magog. And those also those nations that are surrounding, like Belarus is an ally of Russia, Georgia. These nations are going to be connected to, I'll just say that, say it rapid in one, is just Russia and the USSR, man. The old USSR are going to get back together. It says, and say, thus saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushua power, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. So the Lord is telling you he's against Russia. He's just using them as an instrument to destroy the Edomites on this side, these Western Edomites. It says, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth and all thy armies, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armory. So the Lord's preparing Russia and the nations, his allies, to come against Babylon the Great. Let me finish it up. It says, even a great company of bucklers with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. See, all of these nations are coming with Russia. They're going to have no weapons, man. Missiles, man. It says Persia, which we know is Iran, Ethiopia, Libya, with them, all of them with shields and helmet, Gomer, and all the bands of the house of Togarmah. See, Turkey. And I pulled it up. I looked up the nations. As you see, Magog, Rush, Meshach, and Tubal. These are, it says it, widely interpreted as Russia and part of part of Central Asia, Siberia. So all those nations around it, I don't know all the top of them. You can look up a map. Some of the maps be kind of off, so I didn't pull one of them. Persia, modern day Iran, Kush, Ethiopia, Sudan, and you got also got the other nation. See, every nation is not going to be named as coming with Russia, because you got Niger, you got what's the other one? Burkina Faso. It's another nation that is pretty much came ally of Russia as well, man. Russia is backing them with weapons, and Turkey is too. It says Gomer, Slaki, and Togama, associated with modern day Turkey and parts of Eastern Europe and South Caucasian. So you got those nations like Georgia. Let me see if I can pull up a map that's kind of in the area. I'll just see if I can put it up like this so you can kind of get an idea. Because some of these maps go off. This one right here is like a pretty good one. That's a video though. Let me see if I can get a map. See, Rush, Magog. See, Meshach and Tubal got to be up here some more. See, a lot of these maps kind of go off. This right here a pretty good one. But yeah, no, it ain't no. Yeah, like I said, you can kind of get the gist of it. A lot of these, like I said, a lot of these nations, they kind of got it kind of right, but like this one right here, it looks pretty close to it, but you can't really see it, man. See? But you get the gist of what I bringing out, man. So all these nations, 6 again, 38 and 6, it says, Gomer and his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters and all his bands. So all the nations are allied with him. And many with thee, and many people with thee. So it's not naming every nation, because you don't have China. They're coming. You got, like I said, Belarus with Russia. They're connected with Russia. You got China. You got, what's the other nation over there that's, it's another nation with Chechnya. I think it's Chechnya. See, all those nations are not named. He just lumped them all in one. Many people with thee. It says, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled with thee, and be thou a guard unto them. See, Russia is going to be a guard to all the nations, man, because they have the most nuclear missiles, man. So pretty much they're going to be a big brother to everybody, man. But they're going to come against the small caps in Babylon the Great, man. And that's what we're telling you through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. These scriptures are popping off the page. 38 and 8, it says, after many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that I brought back from the sword, and it is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel. See, they're gonna come against our land, man. It says, which have been always waste. See, which have always been waste. Our land is not, speaking of metaphorically, because that land is not actually waste, but we haven't been there. So it's like a wasteland because it's not producing anything. It says, but it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land. See, they're going to cover Babylon the Great. And they're going to cover our land. I said like that for the algorithm. They're going to cover our land, man. This is what the Lord is telling you through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. This is how it's going to end, man. It says, thou and all thy bands and many people with thee. And that's how they're going to come. It's going to be thousands of chariots, not chariots in the sense of the angels, which they are coming with thousands of chariots, but they're going to come with thousands of missiles, man. NLT, it says, you and all your allies, a vast and awesome army will roll down on them like a storm and cover the land like a cloud. See? It's going to be several, man, nations coming against Babylon the Great and his ally, man. The small caps, man. It says, this is what the sovereign Yahweh Shem Yahushua says, at that time evil thought will come into your mind and you will desire a wicked scheme. And this is when they come against the small caps, they're going to think, well, damn. I'm just speaking as I would speak. They're going to think that we need to take away their major ally, and that's Babylon the Great, man. It ain't going to happen simultaneously, but they gonna say, let me read it again. Verse 10, it says, thus say Abba Shem Yahushua, it shall come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. And this is Babylon the Great, man. That's why, when DJT got in there, he created this border czar, that they can control the borders because it's wide open, man. And that's why, they created the cubes, man, the ice cubes, to take away the people that came in so-called illegally. This is the place of unwalled villages, man. It says, thou and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest. And that's Babylon the Great, man. Everybody thinks they're comfortable here. They think they're safe. It says that dwell safely. See, that's a spirit, man. They dwell safely here. Nothing, no wars ever touched Babylon the Great. It says all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. See, you don't have to. You can actually walk into Babylon the Great and walk to a city. You don't have to go through. They got borders, but the vast land is unwalled, man. You got checkpoints at the border when you can come in, but you got so many people just walk across the border, man. All those people that came in so-called illegally when Biden was in office, this is the land of unwalled villages, man. They were coming from Canada and from Mexico. Verse 12, it says, to take a spoil. See, to take a spoil. This is what they're going to think, man. To take a spoil and to take a prey, to turn thy hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited. And this is Babylon the Great, man. This is the desolated place that's now inhabited, because it's going to be destroyed. It says, and upon the people that are gathered out of all nations, out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods that dwell in the midst of the land. NLT, it says, I will go to those formerly desolate cities that are now filled with people who have returned from exile in many nations. See, this place is a melting pot for many nations. It says, I will capture vast amounts of plunder, for the people are rich with livestock and other possessions now. They will be, it's like, let me slow down. Let me stop putting words in it. It says, they think the whole world revolves around them. You can't tell me it's not talking about America, man. Again, it says they think the whole world revolves around them. And it's the mindset of Babylon the Great, man. That's why it's going to be so, man, it's going to be so bad here when all hell break loose, man. Because these people they're privileged. And I ain't speaking about white privilege. I'm speaking about privilege, man. Everyone, every nation here. This is Ezekiel 39 verse 1. It says, therefore the Son of Man prophesy against Gog, which is Russia, and say, thus say Yahweh Shem Yahushua Power, behold, I am against thee, O God, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. So we're prophesying and telling you that the Lord is against Russia too, man. He's not for Russia. The Lord, it was Isaiah 34. Let me get that and I'll come right back. It's Isaiah 34. He's against all armies, man. Isaiah 34:1, it says, come near, ye nations, and hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of Yahweh Shem Yahushua is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. So they're not, the Lord is not with Russia. He's just using them as a pawn in his hand to destroy the West. It says, and he have utterly destroyed them, he have delivered them to the slaughter. So the Lord is telling you, the armies the Lord is against, man. Every army, no nation the Lord is with, because the Lord is coming back to fight against these armies as well, man. And that's a lesson for another day. Verse 2, it says, Ezekiel 9:39-2, it says, and I will turn thee back and leave but a sixth part of thee. And I will cause thee to come up from the north parts, and will bring thee upon the mountains of Israel. See that? He's going to use Russia and the nations that are joined with Russia. We just read in Ezekiel 38 to come against the mountains of Israel, man. And I will smite thy bow out of thy left hand, and cause thy arrows to fall out of thy right hand. And see, this is the Lord telling you that he's going to control those missiles, man. All those missiles that Russia has, over what, 7,000? That's just documented, but it's probably more than that. He's going to take control of those missiles that Russia has, man, and all the other nations as well. But he's speaking of taking those missiles away from the Russians, man, because they have the most out of all the nations, man. Verse 4, it says, thou shalt fall upon the mountains of Israel. See, those missiles are going to fall upon the mountains of Israel. Thou and all thy bands and the people that is with thee. I will give thee unto the ravenous birds of every sort. And let's talk about the bodies, man. It's going to be so many dead bodies. It says, and to the beast of the field to be devoured. See, the Lord is going to have a lot of dead bodies in the Levant, man, the valley of Jehoshaphat. And we're going to get that in Joel. It says, thou shalt fall upon the open field. See, there's going to be a lot of men that's being put to death, man. It says, and I have spoken it, saith Yahweh by Shem Yahushua. So the Lord is letting you know this is going to happen, man. It can't be changed. The Lord has spoken this. And I will send fire on Magog, and among them that dwells carelessly in the isles. And they shall know that I am Yahweh by Shem Yahushua. This is the point I want to hit right here. So will I make my holy name in the midst of my people Israel. So the Lord is going to make his name known amongst the children of Israel, man. It ain't going to be no Jesus, man. And I will not let them pollute my holy name anymore. See, you're not going to be calling on Jesus and all these names that are not associated with the Most High power. And the heathen shall know that I am Yahweh by Shem Yahushua, the Holy One in Israel. They're going to know, man. Everything was set up for the Lord, man. Everything was set up for the Lord. And no one is going to be like I can, like DJT claims he controlled everything. Everything is devastated because of him. It ain't gonna be someone puffed up in the mind that they did this and they did that. They're gonna know this is the Lord, man. Let's end it on this. This is Joel 3:9. I'm gonna get it in the NLT because I always read it in the King James. It says Joel 3:9. It says, say to the nations far and wide, get ready for war. That's plain, man. That's what we telling you through the Spirit. Every nation on the earth is preparing for war, man. This is the scripture that I just said at the beginning of the lesson. It says, get ready for war. Call out the best warriors. Let all your fighting men advance for the attack. Hammer your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Train even your weaklings to be warriors. And that's why you got a draft coming too. It says in November, you got a draft coming, man. End of October, November. It says, come quickly, all you nations everywhere. Gather together in the valley. And now Yahweh by Shem Yahushua calls out your warriors. Let the nations be called to arms. Let them march to the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is the Lord's judgment, Jehoshaphat. It says, there I, Yahweh by Shem Yahushua, will sit to pronounce judgment on them all. And that's what we telling you, man. Wake up, man. The Lord is coming, and there's no way out of it, man. He's coming to bring judgment on you all. And he's speaking of your armies, man. And I could go on, but I'm going to end it there. Lord, when is edifying? Shalom.